Hey everybody, it's Doom here from Dungeons and Doom Biscuit, and I'd like to thank everybody for watching in advance. I, in my mail, received a package from a fan today, or fan mail or whatever, somebody that's on the Discord, and the first thing I saw was they had a custom stamper, which I thought was super cool. So I want to keep this as a token, because I really appreciate it. I'm going to put that in my D&D room. I am going to pluck it off of this piece of foam, and I'm going to keep that. And they sent me a letter on this super cool paper, which they might have made themselves. Blah, 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 blah. Doom, I hope this made it in one piece. I have a fear of shipping due to bad luck. I promise I didn't overload you with stuff. Hopefully it's just enough to make it worthwhile. Also, I give you some patches from my YouTube life where I do Nerf things. Do with them as you will. Your friend, Peace, Love, and Nerf, Clowny. So Clowny X has been on my Discord for a while, and he is a contributing member who competes in challenges and does fun stuff on there. And he had this thing taped up to where it's been opened. So he gave me these patches that say Clowny Nerf on. Remember, kids, Clowny's watching. Those are pretty cool. And it looks like there are 2 of those patches. Or, I'm not sure how that works. They're Velcro, though. Then there was this bag of goodies, which maybe they'll contribute to today's craft. And this is what I was excited about, and this is what we had discussed. These are from SES Direct, kind of back that he got after I got mine. And then there's this like tiki robot, this like Rocket Man kind of robot, this knight with a ridiculous big helmet that I have plans for already, this guy who is some kind of Bjornor kind of berserker. Then there's some, I think these are Mage Knights, Feral Bloodsucker. I'm thinking these are Mage Knights. Pretty sure they are. There's a couple of those, and then there's one that has a different paint job, and it's called the same thing. So I'm thinking he at one point had painted one. I'm not sure. Maybe he painted those black. I'm not sure. But those are cool, and I have ideas for those. Then there were a couple other Mage Knights in there. There was these 2 fine young ladies. And then here's the Fonzies of the set right there. Those are cool. They have like a Wolverine claw and like a blowtorch hand and a skull mask. I don't know what these are from. The bases have some texture on them, which is neat. Here's a third one like that. And then there's these 2 other dudes who are like the same race, but instead of having Wolverine claws, they have like some kind of plasma shoulder missile launcher. So this is all very cool stuff, and I just really want to thank Clowny for this stuff. It's awesome, and I'll be able to use it all. There's nothing in there I want to sacrifice for today's craft, however, so it's a good thing I pulled some stuff out. The 2 youngest Dooms are 7 and 9, and they like to listen to horror stuff on the internet. So lately, they've been listening to scary stories, and they were listening to one that I thought was quite interesting. And it was the story of the Red Ghost, which was a real event. This is not fiction. This really happened. And the Red Ghost had a big, furry, 4-legged body with a human torso mounted up here. And as it turns out, when it was finally shot and stopped, we found out that it was a man tied to a camel. And it was a particularly large camel, and it was in the Wild West for some reason. So they killed it and found out it was just a guy who was dead tied to the camel. And the camel was like, his flesh was running away. He was missing patches of fur and stuff. I don't know the whole story, but I know that's the gist of it. So they called it the Red Ghost. And I thought, what a cool D&D kind of enemy if it was a supernatural thing and not just a story. So I decided to make my own Red Ghost after I learned how to use scissors. Or glue, I mean. Alright, now glue should work. There we go. Now we're cooking with grease. So we need a decent coverage on here. Okay, just like that. A little bit more. Let's get the baking soda out. I need to dump new baking soda in here. I have some down there on the floor, and there's still a missing box in here somewhere. Ugh. Pardon me. I am besneeze. So we want to get that kind of on there so we can work on it. And all I did was just get it mounted lightly. Now I want to make sure that those stick too, so I'm just going to get a tiny bit of glue and just let it drip onto the base from the heel and from the toe. I did that kind of out of order. There's a weird mold line over here. I don't think I'm going to sweat that, but I am going to get my snippers. And let's get going. Snippity snip. So I've decided I want to put him on the front hump. And I just popped that off there like a dumbass. No problem. We will get it back on there in a moment. How did I manage to do that, dumbass? All right, let's try again. Let's get some baking soda on here. Just like that, just a little bit. Let's get him back into place. Okay. I want to talk about forgiveness today. Whether you're a Christian or an atheist or anything in between, forgiveness is an important part of our life. It is important that we learn to give people room to correct their mistakes. It is important that we give people the occasional clean slate. And I'm not saying to a point where it's abusive, but I am saying to a point where it seems reasonable and you can live with it. Now, how do you know if you can live with it? Well, you don't always know until it's too late, unfortunately. I have, in my life, been in situations where I thought I could live with forgiveness, and I forgave someone to the best of my ability, and then later came back and said, man, I don't know if I forgive this person. I have been wrong many times in the past, so often when looking at forgiveness, I have to remind myself that I have needed forgiven on many occasions. And that's hard to admit sometimes that we're wrong. It's hard to admit that we're the guilty party and that we're not always the good guy, because in our own narrative, we like to think that we're always the good guy. But sometimes people say or do hurtful things to us too, and there's no reason to not take that seriously. So I'm going to get my thing here, and I'm just going to get some connector there. Just a little bit of glue around that joint. And then I want to cover up that little bit of bad molding right there where that injection mold was. And I'm just going to kind of work that around and let the glue kind of drip around. And then I'm just going to lightly sprinkle that to capture it and just to sturdy that up. Okay. Now it looks like we got a pretty good sturdy build here. Something we can paint with ease. Now, because we didn't strip him and we don't have good glue or paint will stick, the first thing I want to do is I'm going to hit him with a clear coat real quick and then we'll dry that off. And from my experience, matte clear gives these guys a surface that paint will stick to. Okay. Well, let's dry that off. And paint should stick to it pretty good. I'm going to use some of this flat red primer. You don't have to have this brand. You can use black, red, tan, purple, whatever color you have to make sure the paint's going to stick everywhere. But this is a good base color for what I'm trying to accomplish, I think. I hope. Now you see there's some imperfections in my paint job. I'm not overly concerned about that because the way we're going to paint this guy, and we're going to be doing it pretty quickly, isn't going to kill us on it. So we want to get some white paint. I'm just going to use this craft paint from the Walmarts or Folk Art, wherever that's from. I think it's from Walmart's. No, I think this one's from Michael's or Hobby Lobby, Hooby Looby, whatever it may be. From one of those kind of places. Somewhere that has paint. If you've been watching the channel for a while, I do have multiple types of paint here. I have some craft paint, I have some miniature paint, I have some other kinds of paint too. I have that giant thing of house paint. I have my Dollar Tree paint, which I don't know what that's designed for because it's really terrible. It has terrible saturation, terrible coverage, but it was $1.25 in a giant jug. And I just feel like Dollar Tree wanted me to try it. Okay, so we want to get better than normal coverage with the white. We want to really lighten this up because we want the effect we're going to go for to really pop. Okay, so get in here and lighten up some of these spots. And then once you get it all covered, pretty good, and you're happy with it, we're going to go to the next step. We're going to put that white away. Now, the natural choice is a speed paint here. I know not all of you have speed paint. If you don't have speed paint, you can use multiple really thin coats of red and try to get a similar look. You're not going to get the exact look I'm going to get with my speed paint. I'm sorry, but this is going to look a lot better with a speed paint than it's going to look with the other way, or at least in a video format it is. Now, if I wasn't in a video format, we would have time to do some base coats and some dry brushes and some washes, and we could really do a nice job. But this is a quickie, easy miniature for maybe a fight that I won't even do, so it seems kind of pointless to try. So I'm going to get this color called Slaughter Red. No, I'm sorry, Blood Red. I apologize. And I'm going to put it in my Mix-O-Matic 500. How do I know this is the Mix-O-Matic 500? It's not labeled. Okay, Mix-O-Matic 500. That is solved. This has been an amazing video because I got sweet sick fan mail, which I love. And I got a miniature made, which I love. And I labeled my Mix-O-Matic 5000 or 500. 5,000 sounds better, but I centered it for 500. So I'm just going to get some paint here. And what I want to do is I want to get a soft brush, something that's synthetic and you can clean easily. And I just want to get in here and red my red ghost up. And this is why it was not crucial that my undercoat was perfect. It was just, you know, it'll serve its purpose if I missed a couple spots. Why does the red ghost exist? Well, I've heard multiple theories after kind of glancing around. I read a comment under a video that my son was watching about it, and it literally said it was a military experiment trying to find alternative desert transportation for the military back in the day. Like post-Civil War, when they were kind of really trying to buckle down and settle the West. So that may be true. We don't know. We do know that people believe this was a ghost. Many people believed it was a ghost. It did attack some people. It attacked a lady right in front of her sister-in-law and their children. So it was an aggressive, angry camel. It wasn't a hugger. Maybe it was trying to hug with its teeth. We don't know. Again, wasn't there. Now, in the story, when they finally killed it, it wasn't all red. It was bleeding, and the guy on top was rotting and falling apart, and you know, it gave it the overall appearance that it was mostly red, and that's why they called it the red ghost. It wasn't a ghost again, though. It was a guy tied to a camel. Now, for story reasons, for the role-playing game, in Tomorrow Comes Doom, the red ghost is going to be an amalgamation spiritual horrible creature. That is not on your friends list. I missed a big chunk here under his arm. Get that sorted out. I think we look okay from all angles now. Let's dry him off and start the base. We don't need to worry about the feet. Really hot. So hot. So hot. Let's get our cardboard back. Patam. Patoop. I'm the red ghost. Makes no sense, and it's a stupid looking hideous creature. I love it. I get my Dollar Tree brown. Coming around the base, trying not to get it on the hooves or any of the part of the model that matters. Now, for role-playing purposes, the red ghost is not going to be a guy riding a camel that has been tied there. It is going to be a horrible amalgamation created by fear and spiritual belief and a alchemical substance called Element X. In your story, you can do whatever you want. Maybe it started out as a dude tied to a camel. Maybe he was so afraid of learning to ride the camel that they tied him to it to teach him a lesson. And then it ran off into the wilderness and got lost, and he starved and died, or whatever happened. Maybe he got into a gunfight and died whilst tied to this thing. And they became a ghostly duo like that. That might be a good approach. Or maybe somebody somewhere was just sick in the head and created a Frankenstein's monster like this. We don't know. It's up to you. It's up to the people who discover the adventures that you make to figure that stuff out. And that's the beauty of D&D, really, or any role-playing game. For me, it's Tomorrow Comes Doom, my own version. But, and honestly, if money weren't an issue, I would be pretty close to putting the book out. We've got a lot of playtest in multiple of the genres. And we're about to go back into a space test genre, and then one more fantasy genre test. And honestly, at that point, I think I could produce the game. But it's money. And we'll get the money. We'll figure it out. After summer's over, Mrs. Doom works for the schools, and she doesn't work during the summer. And since she's not a full-time employee, she doesn't get like her money spread throughout the entire year. So during the summer, things get tight. So at the end of the school year, we're putting away a couple bucks here and there when we can to help us get through the summer in case there's anything fun we want to do. Then after summer, she goes back to work, and we start saving for Christmas and stuff. And that's the plan anyways. This is be the first year we're in actual practice of said plan. And after that, we'll start over again. And since I get a raise and a bonus every year, and we had to use the bonus on some stuff for the house, and the raise wasn't $1 billion, unfortunately. We didn't have it this year, but next year I think we're going to be able to get the book published, and it's going to be amazing. And my goal, whether it happens or not, but what I'm thinking now is the PDF will be available for like $5 or even free. And then there will be a softback book, which is a reasonable price, kind of what it cost me to produce it. And then there will be a collector's edition book, which will be hardback. And the first system I'm going to release is going to be the fantasy one, because it's probably going to be the most widely played, because most people tend to play fantasy RPG. And it's going to come in what looks like to be like a leather-bound tome with locks on it. But it's just going to be, for looks. And then the sci-fi book's going to come out next, because I think that'll be the most widely played. And the plan for that is for it to come looking like some kind of data pad or something as the cover. And then the next one after that will be the modern one. And it's going to look like somebody's journal. And then after that will be the Western one, and it's going to look like an old like bank ledger. So that's kind of like the ideas we have, and nothing that's set in stone. My son said, "Hey, Dad, crowdfund it. Do like a Kickstarter." No. I don't want to make promises and then something happen, or I get sick, or I can't come through on the promise. Plus, how do you even get the advertisement for a Kickstarter out there without wasting a bunch of the money the people that gave you to make the product? I mean, doesn't that happen all too often? People are like, "Oh yeah, man, I went into that Kickstarter and they're like, I saw ads for it everywhere, and then it never came." Like Ultima Online 2. If that's true, I don't know if I'm right or wrong about Ultima Online 2. I think I'm right. I remember reading about it or seeing a show about it or something. Maybe it was a podcast. I don't know. When you drive across the country for work, podcasts become a pretty common part of life. So anyways, this was an easy, fun one that I needed just for a fight that I may or may not even do. But if you like what I'm doing here on the channel, please like, subscribe, share, hit that notification bell icon, leave a comment, all the stuff that pleases the great algorithm spirits. And check out the website and the Discord. There'll be links to those in the description, and a discount code on the website to get 25% off your first month of miniatures. I'd like to thank Bane and Mr. Camel for their disgusting mutated amalgamation enemy that they provided, and the bright red speed paint. We'll see you next time.